Hey guys, it is the Indy Mayhem Show, the show where we talk to people in the independent wrestling world and other close by worlds and so much more. I am a video producer here in Pittsburgh for the International Wrestling Cartel and the Reggae Wrestling Alliance, and we do IndieWrestling.us and a few other interesting documentaries and projects around pro wrestling. With me is my associate. He is the voice of Inspire Pro Wrestling and the voice of some other things, too, that we'll hopefully get on later in the show. He is Eamon Paton out of Dallas, Texas, joining us.
Hello, Sorgatron. Very excited to be talking to you about independent wrestling.
Yes.
In audio form, I don't have video this week for technical reasons. However, you get to still see my smiling face next to... Who is that, Sorg?
I don't know anymore, and you're the audio listeners, so we're moving on. Indie Mayhem Show. You can check us out at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. You can subscribe to the Indie Mayhem Show and all the rest of our shows on...
Sorry.
He did not mute that. On iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play Podcasts, and, of course, video versions of the Wrestling Mayhem Show Facebook page, as well as the YouTube page. And, of course, streaming the main show every Tuesday, 10 p.m., at live.wrestlingmayhemshow.com. Very excited for this week's guest. We have the walking weapon, Josh Alexander, joining us. He recently became the Super Indy champion in June at Super Indy, the tournament, taking on Jonathan Gresham, who also won, I believe, CZW's recent tournament at the time, and a rematch.
And recently new CZW heavyweight champion.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I saw that come up over the weekend here. And also just did an amazing, nearly 30-minute match with International Wrestling Cartel at Caged Fury that surprised us and surprised our tape changers, too, for our videographers as well. But looking forward, here's our conversation with him. All right, guys, on the line right now, he is the walking weapon. He is Josh Alexander on the line. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been trying to line this up for a couple months here, and I'm glad we got to sit down and chat with you here tonight. So let's get into, we do a little bit of get to know thing on get to know you thing here on the show to start off. So tell me, being into wrestling as deep as you are, being a wrestler, what was kind of your first memory of pro wrestling?
My first memory was my mom brought home a magazine that had Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mike Tyson on the front with Shawn Michaels. And that was leading up to WrestleMania 14.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just because I was a kid that lived in the country, I didn't have cable, satellite, I didn't have any TV really. I had 3 channels. And in Canada, none of those channels had wrestling on them, so I didn't even know what wrestling was. Apparently I'd watched it when I was really a lot younger, like Macho Man and all that stuff, but I had no memory of it. So that magazine would be my first memory that I do remember. And then from then I remember I saw Saturday night, WCW Saturday night, something like Viano number 5 against K-Quick or something like something that would be on Saturday night. And it was like my first introduction to wrestling, and I was hooked ever since.
So obviously guys that influenced you, right?
Oh yeah. No, I got really deep into WCW. I was a huge WCW fan after that.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of like the guys I picked because I actually could get TNT, so I could see Nitro and stuff like that. I could never see Raw for some reason. So I'm a die-hard Eddie Guerrero fan through and through since before I was a wrestler, and then after I became a wrestler, I became an even bigger fan.
That's awesome. So how did you take the step from being a fan of the wrestling, getting whatever you could where you were to kind of deciding you wanted to actually get into the ring and do this thing?
Well, I like most people these days that are professional wrestlers, I wrestled with my friends on mattresses and trampolines and in backyards and whenever we could when I was in high school because we were all the crazy wrestling fans. And then I went to university, and I had no idea that independent wrestling even existed, never heard of a show, never seen anything advertised. And I just used the power of Google in 2005 when I got to university, when the internet started blowing up like that. And there was a GeoCities website describing some independent wrestling, and I went to check it out and found a school, and that was it.
That's awesome. So how was that experience? What was kind of your perception of what Josh Alexander was going to be coming out of a wrestling school like that?
Well, originally I was not Josh Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
I was Jay Phoenix, which was spelled Phenix, because I had heard that there was another Jay Phoenix spelled properly. And then, like, the image for me was nothing. I never thought I would get out of training. I never thought I would be good enough to be on a show when I started training. I just thought it was something cool that I could do because I just wanted to get in a ring. I wanted to feel ropes. I wanted to know what it was like to fall and take a bump, stuff like that. And like, there was never any, I'm going to be WWE champion one day dream or anything like that. It was just, I was thankful to be able to get in a ring and train.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have that Cinderella story where everybody dreams of one day tagging up with this guy and winning this. I set goals certainly after I started achieving certain things, because I had my first match 3 weeks after I got to this wrestling school. But at the beginning, I had no goals whatsoever. I was just happy to be able to like touch ring ropes and see what it felt like to get whipped into a corner like Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm. So I first experienced you at AIW's Absolution last year, where I believe you were the AIW champion there at the time. Mm-hmm. And I've learned so much about you just from listening to commentary of Joe Nabrowski and your 2 matches with IWC so far. And it sounds like you have a pretty incredible story. I see that you actually had an issue with a neck injury that put you out on the shelf for a good bit there. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what it was like to return from that?
Well, I had injured my neck the first time, and I got neck surgery without telling anybody, because at the time I was working a lot of Ring of Honor shows, and I was kind of on the cusp of being able to get a contract there. Being Canadian, a contract there would mean a visa, and a visa would mean wrestling more in America, and it's just the next step, right? So I kind of had this neck surgery that I needed because I had broken my neck, and didn't tell anybody, and came back to wrestling after 4 weeks, which obviously doctors did not advise. And it seemed to go well. I got to PWG. My neck was fine, even though I didn't give it the proper time to heal. And then about 8 months after that, I re-injured my neck. And they had told me at the time, the doctors had said that it was a far more severe injury than the first one, and that I would never be able to wrestle again if I wanted to be able to walk and do things in 10 years. So I retired. Like I did this whole thing. I ended up retiring. It was a week after that Absolution where you were first introduced to me. And I woke up from surgery, and this time there's no neck brace on. They had done a surgery. They went into my neck because there was a bandage on me, but there was no neck brace. There was no neck pain. I could move my neck completely side to side all around. I was very confused. So my surgeon walks in the room the next day, and I'm like, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, I'm not in a neck brace. Did you guys do the surgery? Like, what did you find?" He's like, "Yeah, we went in. I guess you didn't let it heal properly after the first one, and there was some like material that was left in there, and we just had to clean it up. But it showed up on the MRI looking like it was something else. So it wasn't nearly as severe as we thought it was going to be. So you skated through thin on this one." I was like, "Oh, awesome." And then I really thought about it. I was like, I just retired from wrestling and I didn't have to. And oh my God. So I took the proper almost a year to heal after that, about 10 months. And I returned this past May. And ever since then, things have been great.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I know going into obviously the Super Indy tournament that I got to see, you had, of course, doing the production on that, and of course the famous JT Lightning tournament. You're a winner of both of those, coming right out of the gate.
Yeah, and I like tournaments because I like not being able to like speak to my opponent very much before I go out. I like to be able to just kind of see how it's going and make it up as we go. I think the best matches come from like both your backs being pushed up against the wall and having the pressure turned up like that. So the JT Lightning Invitational, same thing. You have to do several matches in one night. And it obviously means something to win these tournaments because on the independent wrestling fan spectrum, they're pretty high. Like the guy that wins this is kind of going to be the guy. And coming back from my neck surgery, in all honesty, I felt like I had something to prove. I had a chip on my shoulder because I had people telling me that I wasn't going to be able to wrestle the same. I had people doubting that I would be healthy enough to wrestle the same way I used to. That made me so popular. So there was no better platform than the JT Lightning Invitational and the Super Indy to do that.
That's awesome. That's some great stuff. And of course, a return battle with Jonathan Gresham at Cage Fury, which you guys surprised us because we were expecting, okay, it might be like a 15-minute match, and then you kept going, and then you kept going. And then you kept going. I know, to the point where unfortunately, we're still on tapes for our video production, which we're hoping to change soon. But we're like, okay, we need a spot to change tapes. Oh, okay, this is getting awkward. Okay, we might have a problem here. I hope we catch the end of this match. It sounds like. Go ahead.
No. A little behind the scenes thing on that match. When we put it together like a 12-minute match. Mm-hmm. We weren't expecting to go more than 12 to 15 at all. And when we went out there, just Jonathan Gresham to me he's one of the top 5 wrestlers I've ever been in the ring with. And he's just someone that I know I gel with. He's one of my best opponents. And we just felt something started going, and once the crowd started going with it, we kept going. And that's like the freedom that we were given at IWC. So it was great.
It's one of those great things on my side, being on the other side of the camera or editing this thing afterwards, especially if we're there in person, to see like something special kind of come up. And I've seen timeline draws where it looked like both guys were completely winded, and it just like maybe we shouldn't have done a draw at this point, with people's skill levels. But this was just, other than worrying about our technical side, it was just kind of don't end at this point with the way you guys went out at it. And of course, Jonathan Gresham going to Super Indy was the winner of, I can't remember, CZW's tournament that they have every year. Best of the best.
Yeah.
So a pretty impressive thing, and then the kind of awesome matches that we're seeing happen in that group. So. From there, okay, so of course you're currently the Super Indy champion. You were previously AIW, PWG. You've been kind of all over the place here. So like coming out, other than those 2 tournaments, where else have you been popping up?
Primarily Alpha One Wrestling in Canada. That's my home. That's pretty much the solo spot I wrestle for in Canada now. I wrestled the likes of Ethan Page, Matt Riddle on their last show. I had a really good match. My very first match back, in fact, from retirement was against Heidi Lovelace, and it's the best match I've had since I returned, I think.
That's awesome.
And it's just a lot of good things going on at Alpha One, and then AAW in Chicago is kind of always been my American home. And they've been treating me really well. Now that I have IWC, it's completely different, but AEW, I've had really good matches. They put me in the ring with Tommaso Ciampa, then Silas Young. I had a match with Moose Congo Kong and Matt Cross last show, and tomorrow I have a show with them against Drew Gulak. So they're putting on some pretty big shows right now. I'm just happy to be a part of them.
That's awesome. And one thing, a lot of people, again, unless you're on the commentary listening these things being explained, you're a complex individual, apparently.
Me?
Yes, you.
Okay.
Between the story we just talked about and everything. So again, seeing your first time at AIW last year, I noticed the headgear, and I was like, oh, okay, this is some kind of amateur wrestling thing, right? But it turns out you actually, like, the headgear is actually functional for you out there, right?
Yeah. Okay, my very first JT Lighting Invitational tournament, I think it was 2011 or 12 probably. I had gone in, I had a little bit of cauliflower ear, slight, and I actually, in my first match against ACH, I suffered an enziguri straight to my ear, and my ear blew up to the size of a hard ball, if anybody knows, from just regular baseball. That's how big my ear was, and I had to go to the hospital. They had to cut my ear all the way in half, all the way around, scrape out everything, pin it to the side of my head, and then I went back and I wrestled in the second round of JT Lighting Invitational. And then it swelled up again, obviously, and I had to go get it all done again when I got back to Canada. And they told me if it happens again, there's a good chance that the swelling can go on the inside of my ear canal, and I will lose all the hearing in that ear.
Jeez.
Because as a result of that injury, I obviously lost a little bit of hearing, but yeah, so I returned to wrestling 2 weeks after that, and that was against doctor's orders yet again because wrestlers are dumb, mainly me, and I decided to get headgear to protect myself in the interim, and it was just something that stuck and kind of became my thing, so it's never gone anywhere since.
Awesome. We actually do have a question from the live chat room over at live.wrestlingmayhemshow.com. And our boy Tragar, he's been doing some great blogs about a lot of the indie wrestling here in the area and everything. And he says, Josh, I think that Desmond Xavier deserves a rematch. What say you give him one by the end of the year? I'm presuming I think you guys met in Super Indy. Is that right?
Yeah, we met in the first round of the Super Indy.
Right.
And if it were up to me, I'd give him a rematch every single show. Because I think he's probably one of the guys that's going to blow up the most in the next year or two. And he's super talented, and I thought he was really good, and I would love to do that again.
He's impressed me the couple of times we've seen him in an IWC immensely. And he's a name that keeps popping up on those highlights every week when you look back at the Indies too. So definitely you got to look out for. So awesome. Well, so tell me, what are you watching out for now? What are you watching for inspiration? What are you watching for entertainment as far as wrestling goes? Or is anybody else there you're looking out for?
I watch a lot of, if I want to just watch wrestling and fanboy out, I watch New Japan Wrestling a lot. I just think everything they put out is amazing. I am a huge fan of Nakamura, NXT, New Japan Anywhere. And lately I've been watching the CWC. I think Gargano and Ciampa against the Revival is one of the best matches I've seen in a long, long time on TV or anywhere. And that's just kind of the stuff I watch, man. Seeing Cedric Alexander wrestle Biff Busick in a WWE ring, and I just watched that last night. It's surreal to me, and it's just awesome to see guys I know doing so well, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the stuff I watch for inspiration lately, and things I have my eye on. I want to get back to PWG. I want to get back to Ring of Honor or Evolve. It's just getting the next step. My one main goal this year, I don't care if I wrestle on any of those companies per se, by this time, but I want to make it to WrestleCon this year. Something I've never done, something that I would have regretted never doing if I indeed had to stay retired. So now that I have my second chance, WrestleCon is what I want to do.
Awesome. It's a hell of a time, isn't it? There's a lot of opportunity out there with the CWC and everything. And it's great to see a lot of these guys you never really thought would fit in WWE, just doing crazy stuff out there.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see Kota Ibushi doing Kota Ibushi things in a WWE ring.
Yes. Yes, it's nice.
It's great that they took the reins off and just let them be them.
Right. It's nice to see Japanese wrestlers being Japanese wrestlers instead of saying "indeed." Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. And this is another question. This has been taken several different ways over the times we've done this show. But what is the best and the worst thing about indie wrestling?
The worst thing about indie wrestling is that it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. I'm not saying for WWE, because they're obviously giving it recognition now. They're giving top indie guys spots. They're giving them chances all the time. I'm saying from just people. There's fans. I know fans that have brought people to shows, and the second they bring those people to a show, they're hooked for life. But it's the people that don't listen to their friends and don't give indie wrestling the chance because, it's not that stuff I see on TV. It's got to be something amateur. You know what I mean? I think that's the worst part about indie wrestling. And the best part about indie wrestling is that I get to do what I never dreamed possible, and I get to do it at some of the best places in North America. And to me, I'm just glad it's around. That's the best thing for me.
That's awesome. And of course, you're going to be coming at least back in here in the Pittsburgh area for us. I understand you're going to be at House of Hardcore on October 15th, taking on the winner of the three-way this weekend for the Super Indie title. Have you done a House of Hardcore before?
I have not. I was supposed to, I believe, and then I had to get my neck surgery the weekend of the show. So, yeah, I've never done it. They run awesome shows. Tommy's amazing, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, no matter who the opponent is. I just saw that was announced tonight, actually, right before you called me.
Awesome. And of course, Gory, Chris LaRusso, and Alex Daniels, who I think you may be familiar with Alex Daniels a bit from the Cleveland run in AIW.
Yeah, I wrestled him in the finals of the JT Lightning Invitational, actually.
Nice. It'd be nice.
Along with Raymond Rowe.
Oh.
So I'm pretty familiar with him. Chris LaRusso, I've seen some good things at the IWC shows I've been to so far. And Gory I've seen over the years, actually. He's been around for like 6-7 years doing good things. So
certainly,
no matter who my opponent is, it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good time. So
awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Awesome. So you check those out. Of course, houseofhardcore.com, iwcwrestling.com. Where can people find you online? And is there anything else coming up they should check out?
I do not have Facebook because, as I said, I'm a caveman. I'm trying to get off the grid, but I'm an indie wrestler, so I need Twitter. At walking_weapon. I have Instagram as well, but that's just pictures of my son and stuff like that. So people usually don't have to follow me there. Just Twitter for all wrestling needs and communication with me. And to see me soon, this weekend, Friday, I'm at AAW in Chicago, aawrestling.com. And Sunday, I'm at alpha-1 wrestling.com for their show Matt Rats featuring Hornswoggle. So it's going to be a good time.
That's awesome. Guys, about 10 years ago, I saw a young lad named Raymond Rowe walk into IWC and demand respect regardless of his Cleveland colors in a Pittsburgh ring. And I get the same feeling when I saw the Walking Weapon several months ago at Super Indy. It's been awesome seeing you in here in Pittsburgh. It's awesome to know that we're going to see you a bit more here in Pittsburgh. Everybody, go check him out. Thanks again, Josh, for joining us there, and we're going to get into some more stuff, including a recent experience. Eamon had a new experience in independent pro wrestling, but if you guys want to get some experiences, check out Indy Wrestling. Oh, that's the schedule. IndyWrestling.us. There it is. There's Sanjay Dutt. IndyWrestling.us is where we are. You can get digital downloads, of course, and some DVDs of some shows with the Renegade Wrestling Alliance, International Wrestling Cartel. Great shows just like RW's Aggression 2016. Sanjay Dutt taking on Shane Andrews. A tremendous match. Great night of wrestling. Guys like J-Rock on there, like Daniel Ease is another up-and-comer you guys got to check out. Some cool stuff happening in this little gymnasium in West Newton, PA. And, of course, IWC stuff, including Cage Fury, including the upcoming Rumble in Royal Valley that strangely has a Pokemon theme, and so much more. Finding Zach Gowen, Montreal Theory, the award, the PWI 4 out of 5 rated Finding Zach Gowen available here in digital download form. Vicious Outcast Wrestling, Border City Wrestling, and so much more. Check out IndyWrestling.us. Sign up for the newsletter. Get updates. Get free shows. Get discounts over there. And some new announcements coming soon in the Around the Indies column by The Riz. And check out our talk. We didn't have a regular show last week, of course, but we did have kind of a recap of King of Trios and our experience going out there on a road trip. And that was a lot of fun. You can check that out in the podcast feed on the YouTube, or just check the link over at IndyWrestling.us. Eamon, you had a new experience. Now, you have been classically a wrestling announcer, commentator for Inspire Pro up until this point. When we've talked about your social media kind of ventures as well around the promotion, but you had a new opportunity over this past weekend.
I did. I had a really great opportunity to do some ring announcing, which was a great pleasure to do for a company in the Arlington, Texas area called VIP Wrestling. It was a real pleasure to get to work with them. Since moving to Dallas from San Antonio, I kind of wanted to expand my resume a bit more and work a couple different places. Got to be a real, not a worker, but like a real worker in the business, and get my name out there, I guess, a bit. And I got to ring announce their Setting the Bar 3 event. It was their second year anniversary, or their second anniversary, third year. You get how math works. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a new experience, to say the least. Because ring announcing, very different than commentary. Because you're actually in front of people and you're speaking to a couple hundred people. Like, that's crazy to me. And it was definitely having to get past nerves and get over it, but it was a really fun experience. Like I said, it was really great getting to work with the people at VIP. They were super awesome. I get to ring announce for people like Zack Sabre Jr., who you see in the photo with me, if you're on the video formats. But there were tons of great people on that show. DJ Z, Zima Ion, Sanjay Dutt, Crazy Mary Dobson, who may be going to NXT soon. It was a really, really packed, star-studded show, and it was a real pleasure to get to do something that as far as ring announcing goes.
That was awesome. And you talked about at the end of Wrestling Mayhem show this week about your scariest experience in professional wrestling happened.
Oh yeah, because once you have a couple hundred people yell at you, and not only yell but chant at you that they don't know who you are, that's kind of terrifying. Luckily, the crowd I think warmed to me eventually. It was a really great experience because I had a lot of like random fans come up to me during intermission or after the show and tell me I did a good job. Like people I never met before, like told me that I did a good job, and that's a really cool feeling. It was intimidating to say the least, but ultimately really fun. It was a really great. I don't know when I'm doing. I think the thing I liked about it as well is when I do commentary and behind the table for like the entire show, pretty much calling things and all that stuff. I actually got to spend some time in the back as well. It was really cool just seeing a bunch of people like huddled around a monitor, just like watching the matches happen as they're going on. That was a really interesting experience. It was really, really fun and something I would definitely love to do again. I definitely want to expand my repertoire a bit more. The main reason when I've been sending stuff to different promotions, and I'll include ring announcing on the list of things that I would be willing to do for a company, mainly because I know, especially here in Texas, not everybody has commentators or needs commentators because they don't always produce a show in that way, but everyone needs ring announcers. So, so I've been including that more on stuff. And not only did I get to ring announce on Friday, but I also get to do like an in-ring interview thing. So I'm getting to kind of do some more stuff now, which is nice and kind of expand my resume, which I'm really enjoying. And hopefully we'll get to do more soon.
Awesome. I gotta say, although you have never had the experience of people throwing stuff at you, though.
No, well, they did throw streamers.
They did throw streamers. Okay, all right, because I had like full pop bottles getting thrown at me while I was on stage.
Oh, fun!
Yeah, they were not happy with us. Yeah. Also, I've had several times where an ambulance had to show up during a show that I was performing. So not related to my show.
I will say I think it's safe for me to say this. I was originally supposed to ring announce everything except for the main event because the person mainly the reason I got this position was because the person who normally ring announces was going to be in a street fight right before intermission with another wrestler. And they were going to come back for the main event and call the main event. Unfortunately, that person had to go to the hospital to get 12 staples in the back of his head.
Oh, jeez. So
it was a pretty intense street fight. He made it back to announce the end of the match. I got to call the beginning of the main event.
Wait. So what? He was a wrestler?
No, well, he's one of the co-owners and he's also a ring announcer. But he was wrestling this match with a wrestler. It was kind of a power struggle sort of thing. Like
okay.
Yeah. But bleeding from the back of the head, had to go to the hospital after the show, get 12 staples, or during the show, get 12 staples in his head, came back and sent everyone home basically at the end. So that was fun.
And I have to say, so this is a poster that I had come across, and I didn't realize this was something that you were a part of in advance. But like the poster was up, and it mentioned the names. Like it felt like these guys like seem to spare no expense for the names they're bringing in. I mean, even the night before they had Cody Rhodes and Chris Hero, right?
I was there also for the night before selling merchandise for some people, and then that was a really fun match.
Wow! Like these guys are really like we're gonna put names in here all over the place. Like people significant, even Keith Lee. I guess he's a Ring of Honor guy. I was thinking like, oh, he's a regional guy, but like no, or Sanjay Dutt, Mary Dobson, DJ Z. Not Will Ospreay. It's actually Rich Jr. That's pretty incredible and interesting look to how some people promote. I think that's
Yeah,
always interesting to see like what that strategy is. That versus I know kind of the mix of guys you guys have. Kind of the mix of what RWA and IWC does, and what that kind of brings in, and seeing the crowd. I guess numbers wise kind of react to that.
right.
So I mean, and I imagine this had to bring a lot of people out for a show like this.
No, definitely, yeah, and it was that just added to the whole pleasure of getting to work for them in this role, because like getting to ring announce for Zack Sabre Jr. is a really cool thing that I get to put on my bucket list. Yeah, it was really cool, and it was full of really great people, and I really wanted to again give credit to Lamont and Keith, who are the co-owners of VIP. They were great to me, and yeah, hopefully there may be something down the line. There's nothing confirmed right now, but hopefully.
Cool.
Hopefully.
Yeah. See you on NXT. Okay. Well, anyways, hey, you never know, man. I mean, I could not be. I would not be one bit surprised if I see you doing an off show on Ring of Honor or something. The way you're getting out there, the way you are.
Who knows?
You never know. You never know. So we just need to get some of these guys to pay to get you up in Pittsburgh. Like, hey, if you need a ring announcer, I got a guy. You can ride up with Ray Rowe, who comes up here anyway. So it could work out. We could work out. All right, but anyways, so great stuff happening there. It's good to hear, and of course, you've heard what we've had going on here. Let me talk. So, have we talked a bit since I've kind of had my new self-appointed role. We've talked about how I've changed things that we're doing post-editing.
Uh-huh.
So I found myself in this weird box now where I'm not doing anything during wrestling shows.
Okay.
Like I've worked myself out of a position during shows. Because I don't want to. I'm not going to step in and take the guys. The guys are working, and I don't want to take their spots. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
and the guys do a great job. Chachi and Rob are doing an amazing job. Rob's been doing an amazing job now editing for us some of the trailers that you've been seeing. So I get to, like, I've worked myself in this position where I get to sit back and enjoy the shows again. And I get to enjoy the show again when I edit it in these cases, right?
Yeah.
And we're looking at some stuff. We're actually going to experiment with some new ways for us to do production to hopefully improve it even more and streamline the process actually, so we can turn these around a little bit quicker even than we are now with the editing process. Not necessarily live switching, but that is something that's on the table in the future as well. But it has been kind of cool, especially something like I guess I technically ran the DVD table with Renegade Wrestling Alliance because we had a couple people busy on stuff. But it was nice to kind of spectate on something like that. Enjoy an RWA show, which I don't think I've ever sat back and watched other than these last couple of shows back with them. But it's cool to be part of it there and kind of see it from a different angle and notice things that I wouldn't notice just sitting down and editing just the footage, right? I know there's some other stuff I get to look for that I get to see from a different angle. So it's been kind of nice to be in that spot. And of course, this week, we've talked about this year has been really me getting back to basics on my wrestling fandom, right? I mean, we started with me going to other promotion shows in the area, like on purpose to say, hey, I got to get out there and see what everybody's doing. In ring, seeing how other people are doing production, like everything for the most part.
Right.
So that's been a big part of that. And geez, the list this year of what we've got to hit up has been pretty tremendous. Not to mention, not to mention finding rando shows on my travels during business travels and finding a strange ultra-violent show in northern LA with 16 people in the crowd. So I was actually talking to the guy from VOW. I was like, ask me about that show sometime when we're in person again. Because they just did their Lords of Anarchy show, and he's showing me some preview stuff. And I'm just like, man, speaking of ultraviolet, I got to tell you about this promotion I found. But anyway, of course, we talked about that here a few months ago, I think back in May when that happened. So, and I'm going to be doing that again. Dude, I'm going to some podunk towns in 2017. I have about 5 trips.
Sometimes that's the best wrestling.
Oh yeah. I was so sad. I was like just barely missed some shows. They're just out of range when I was up in Rochester. for some promotions, which it looked like they're promotions that regularly have guys we love, like RJ City, Dalton Castle, a bunch of names that are usually up in that Western New York area. But this was the off week. Where you're like, I don't know who the hell these guys are, but I definitely want to check it. Like, I was almost to the point where I'm like, man, I want to miss half the show, but I'm kind of okay with that. I just want to see something. So
right.
You never know. You never know what you're going to run into in the middle of Nebraska next year. So as we get closer to those, I don't know. I think I want to post my dates and say, hey, do you know any indie wrestling in these areas around these times? And we'll see what will happen. So there you go. Well, it's been fun, Eamon, talking indie wrestling with you. Trying so hard to make this a regular basis again. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with us on these shows and our little weird schedule here over the summer. As we're readjusting, Eamon's joining us on some kind of tinfoil internet. Enough that
I'm here one way or the other.
One way or another. So, but we'll get things going. We got Indy Mayhem Show rocking it right now. Thank you so much for you guys joining us. Eamon, where are the places people can check you and places that you can hear your voice?
You can check me out on Twitter at Eamon2, please, and also check out Inspire Pro Wrestling over at InspireProWrestling.com and on Twitter at InspireProRes. Our next event is next Sunday, September 25th, our Fade to Black 2 event. That's going to be really fun. And then right around the corner the month after is Battle Wars, our big show featuring the stars of Chicago Pro Wrestling. That event is always one of our most anticipated events of the year, so you do not want to miss that.
Definitely. It makes me jealous to be not in Texas, man. Shows coming up in the Pittsburgh area, of course. This weekend, IWC is doing a show all the way out in Royal Valley, so it's a little bit out of Pittsburgh, but if you're in the northeast of the city, it's definitely worthwhile. They packed that place. It was their first show in Royal Valley, probably back in February, and I can't believe they packed that place as much as they did for a first-time show like that. And this is going to be fun. Fans bring the weapons match. Marshall Gambino, Bronco McBride, against Keith Pott and Remy LeVay, some friends of the show, all involved there. Man, we got to get Bronco on. He's overdue for not getting on, so we'll see what we can do with that. Also, we have a pod crawl, not Wrestling Mayhem show, but a couple of us will be there in attendance. The Awesome Cast is actually going to be involved in a pod crawl in Millvale, PA. Go to riversedgepgh.com or look up the Rivers Edge Radio Network on Facebook for information about that. We're at 9:45 at one of the places along there. Some friends of ours like Jagoff, drinking partners who joined us on the podcast panel at PodCamp Pittsburgh, and a few more great Pittsburgh podcasts as a part of that. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, all these are Pittsburgh area dates here. We're doing a Sorgatron Media Coffee. If you want to meet a Mayhemmer at Work Hard Pittsburgh on October 1st, Sorgatron Media Facebook page for that event. I think we also have that co-hosted with Wrestling Mayhem Show. And also, the Friday before WWE's No Mercy is the big N64 WWF No Mercy tournament. We got to warm up with the ants out in myself taking on the Estonian Thunder Frog, of course, in Chikara, the Fanclave last week. But we're going to have a big tournament. We have a $100 gift certificate and 2 tickets to the Rob Van Dam comedy show at the Improv Pittsburgh for the first place winner. Second place gets $50 at indiewrestling.us. Check it out. Our friends looking for group LFGPGH.com for them. It's on their calendar. It's on our calendar on the Facebook page. We hope to see you there. $10 entry fee. And if you become a Patreon at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show before the end of September, you actually have the opportunity to get half off that $10 entry fee when you check in. So thank you so much. Eamon 2, please, at Sorgatron. Support your local or national indie wrestling. Show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.